just cut the video. I was saying I've laid down and wrecked most everything that I've ever had, or dropped it. So this one's dropped on its side before, but never crashed with it. KLR motorcycle, I had a 45 mile an hour accident where the front tire caught some pavement that was up about 2 inches or 3 inches maybe above the regular pavement in a construction zone, and it caused the death wobble where the handlebars go back and forth and it never regained. So fortunately it did a low side where you just fall on the one side and slide. A high side is where you flip over, and those usually cause some pretty serious injuries. I've only ever done anything comparable to that on my that Gary Fisher racing mountain bike. When I was in Colorado, that bike, I took a lot out to the mountains and stuff, but I was horrible on the trail. Just lacked the skill to maintain. I had a few, I don't know, probably, well, at least 2 accidents that were pretty bad. One of them, I was going down the mountain. It was the Jeep road or fire road or whatever it was super rocky, and the bike had jumped and then landed down onto a rock, and the seal or something went out in the air shock in the rear, and it just caused me to slam down, and I fell off. I cut my knee wide open. That was pleasant. And back then it was the phones that were the kind of flip phones I had. So I got signal and I was able to call 911, and I just wanted to ask them where the nearest hospital was where I could get the kneecap sewn up, and they wouldn't let me do that. So they had to meet us on the road, and their ambulance wasn't designed to go up those Jeep trails that I was up. So my roommate at the time didn't feel comfortable about driving my Jeep, so because it was a stick. So I ended up riding it all the way down the mountain while my leg's bleeding. Kind of a messed up ride. But the other one, I was riding down, and I was going really fast down this Jeep road, and it had a cambered curve or banked curve on it. For some reason, I was stupid enough to slow down on the curve, and I ended up sliding down, got a huge section of road rash down my side of my thigh. That ride was on a Sunday, and by Wednesday I was having problems walking on it. Unfortunately, again, I'm stupid. My fellow people that I worked with talked me into going to the hospital. Fortunately, I did. What had happened was I ended up getting an infection. So it was a staph infection, and they had to scrub it, 3 days after the fact. And then I had to be put on IV antibiotics with whatever the most powerful antibiotics were at the time. So I had to go in 14 days straight for the antibiotics. And if I remember correctly, they sent me to some office of the CDC, which was odd, but maybe they were trying to find out what strain of the Staphylococcus bacteria was. But it's pretty messed up. The doctor said that The infection was bad enough that if I would have waited about 12 more hours, they would have had to have taken my leg, and then 24 hours, I would have been dead. So don't mess around with the cellulitis or staph infections. They're pretty serious. Boy, I miss Colorado though. I have a piece of property in San Luis, Colorado that I've had hopes of building something really small on it to stay at, but the county government of Castilla County decided to restrict sizings and all the requirements for what to build and what's allowed to be built. So that's added a lot of money to the cost of what it would be. And if you want to, like, say, park an RV on your property, you're only allowed to do it for 6 months of the year, and you have to have a permit to do so. And also your waste and stuff like that, I think you're required to have a septic system in place, so you're not allowed to just stay there and not take your waste somewhere. Which is probably good. But I've been out there once to camp on the way out to a group motorcycle ride in Colorado. Other than that, I haven't done much with it, so, well, anything with it. So, but I'll keep it. Property taxes are incredibly cheap, so. And maybe one day I will build something on it. They do require that the home has to be a minimum of 600 square feet, which I know to a lot of people that's super tiny, but my house now is under 1,000 square feet, so. Should have brought a bottle of water today. Getting a little dry now. I guess the other day my knee was feeling a lot better because we're running at half battery most of the time now. Well, while there's motor draw. Sounds like I need to lube my chain too. Sounding a little metallic. Give it the throttle for a bit. Nope, that drops it down in the red. Boy, these city tires that are narrow, they're a lot quieter than those 4-inch tires on the Juliet. Let's get us up to speed and see if I can maintain. Because I can't tell if it's wind in my ears. I can't tell if the motor's cutting out or not. Yeah, it's not. Nope, wrong way. Yeah, the time I went to stay on that piece of property, I was headed to that motorcycle trip, and I've been bad about trying to get to some place super fast, so I'll ride 1,000 miles in 24 hours. But that ride, I think it was 1,200 or 1,300 miles, so I did it non-stop except for I stopped for a nap on the Kansas Turnpike at a toll plaza. When I got there, the tinnitus in my ears was all I could hear after riding for that long. Boy, I fell asleep hard when I got the tent up. It's a weird spot though where it is. There's a hill right behind it, and then you've got the mountains. I don't know, probably, I'm not sure, maybe 30 miles to the east, and then Rio Grande's probably 10 or 15 miles to the west. But when I woke up the next day, it was the quietest place I've ever been on the earth. I guess the San Luis Valley where it's at was originally owned by, well, I believe, don't take this for fact, but I believe it was owned by a lot of gold mining businesses. And then when the technology came about, they were able to fly over with helicopters with some kind of ultrasound or whatever device to see where gold might be in the soil. So they ended up subdividing a huge amount of that valley. And I don't think a lot of people really built homes too much, so it's a lot of high plains desert. I think it's around 9,000 feet up. Maybe not quite that high. But they've got all these dirt roads that probably the county goes through once a year or once every few years and takes a blade and scrapes out the gravel to smooth it out. But the entire area there is covered in free-range cattle. So when I got there, there was several head of cattle sitting there on the property. So it might not have been the safest place to have the tent at night. It's getting a little windy. I think I'm going to turn around. It's a little too windy. Plus, my legs are starting to get tired. Oh, thank you. Thanks. I mean to make them wait. This may have changed, but I think the San Luis Valley was one of the largest producers of potatoes in the country, but I'm not sure if that's changed or not. I mean, of course you got Idaho, but they're a different one. That piece of property, there's those cows, so there's probably, I don't know, 10, 15 head of cattle sitting there. When I got there, they kind of decided to mosey on down the road. And then there's huge amounts of prairie dog dens. You hear them barking and stuff. And then there was some kind of deer that I had crossed paths with when I was leaving it to head to Dolores, Colorado. Yeah, now we're down to yellow from using the motor. Nope. Wrong way. These twist throttles I'm never used to. You'd think I would have been, having this bike for so long. That piece of property, it's pretty, it's bare, so I think the nearest electrical pole would be 2 or 3 miles away, so you'd have to have solar. It would be seriously cost prohibitive to have them run electricity closer to you. And of course, they had to have septic and then water. The wells are questionably deep there, so I think you have to go, you know, in the 100, 150, 200 feet range and hopefully find it. But when I bought the property, I had a contract to buy it, and I have partial water rights to a well on another property, so I would be able to go get water and bring it back, but that'd be a while. Plus you'd have to have a vehicle that is strong enough to do it. a lot of people on properties like that have cisterns, and they'll have water delivered in a big tank truck. Sure if this camera's still on. Yep, you guys are still there. Well, at least the camera's recording. You guys might have moved on from my stories. The nearest larger city to that property is Alamosa, and I think it's probably about an hour away, maybe a little more. San Luis is a small town, and I'm pretty sure, almost positive, that it's the oldest town in Colorado. It was founded by the Spanish. There's a big, I think it's a Catholic church, but they have some kind of trail that goes up with the Stations of the Cross, with statues and stuff that are really pretty. I'd like to visit that the next time I go out. I'm going to stop this video, switch out batteries. Be right back.